Is Kyle Pitts a realistic option at number 3? Before we answer the question, there's been some new evidence that has been brought to the courtroom. I want to present it to the judge as Exhibit A. This was 2018. He was asked about finding elite wide receivers. This was the combine. And this is a direct quote from Kyle Shanahan, February 2018. He says, there aren't that many elite guys. If there's a Julio available and you have the opportunity to get him, you go get him. It's worth it. Whatever the price is, whatever the draft pick is, go get him. There aren't too many Julios on the planet. So that's an interesting thing. I mean, for him to say it so explicitly, and then you remember that the Falcons traded 2 first rounders, a second, and 2 fourths for Julio Jones, who is the best player in their franchise history. The Niners traded more for that number. They traded more, but it's comparable. And I think a lot of people would say that this player Pitts is the best prospect who's a pass catcher, wide receiver, tight end since Julio.
Gotcha.
I mean, he's bigger than Julio and just as fast. So given the new evidence that I brought to this discussion, do you think it's something that's actually crossed through Kyle Shanahan's mind?
I think, first of all, if this Sports Illustrated writer thing doesn't work out for you, definitely fall back on your law and research skills is definitely there for you, because that's a good quote. And the problem is that's something you can say when you have Matt Ryan at quarterback.
True.
Right? So when you having Matt Ryan at quarterback makes it easier to be like, I could go up and pick the best receiver that's coming, a generational talent like that. Kyle Pitts as a pick for the Niners, I don't think is realistic, because he is dependent on who's throwing him the ball. And so if there's not somebody there that is going to be there to put the ball in his hands, then it's a waste of a weapon. So I think, because of the 49ers are so bleak at quarterback right now, because, the health issues of Jimmy G and just like all that. I'm not saying because of the draft capital that they put in. I'm just saying more that they don't have a quarterback to throw to this guy right now. So Pitts is a luxury that you just can't, will be wasted on the 49ers versus going after one of those quarterbacks.
I hear you. And I think that's ultimately why the Niners won't draft Kyle Pitts. But here's just what I want to say to you and to Kyle Shanahan, who's watching very closely, and everyone in the Niners front office. Thank you for watching and tuning in. Kyle Pitts is going to be a Hall of Famer, all right? And he's going to be one of the best players from this draft, if not the best. And you have your reasons to not pick him. But if you don't, you're going to be passing on a Hall of Famer. And what you could do is you could take Jimmy Garoppolo, Josh Rosen, quarterback you take in round 2, and put him with the best receivers in the league. And it's like, yeah, I mean, maybe Jimmy Garoppolo isn't durable enough, but when he's healthy, he's been pretty good. And now you give him Kyle Pitts. Or, look at Kyle Trask, how good he was with Kyle Pitts. You could get him. You could get Kellen Mond. You could bring back Josh Rosen. There are a lot of quarterbacks who have talent who all of a sudden would look way better throwing to Kyle Pitts. That's my last argument here. And then
but then you could also say the same thing. Calvin Johnson had Matt Stafford in Detroit, and how much did that help that franchise, right? Calvin Johnson is one of the greatest wide receivers of all time, maybe even better than Julio Jones when you talk about Megatron. And he had a really good quarterback that was throwing to him. And how many playoff games did that turn into? How many Super Bowls did that turn into? It turned into nothing. So it doesn't really matter if you have that talent without the right pieces around them, without, being utilized in the right way, it's not going to turn into it.
It's true. Now, what's interesting is 12 months ago, if someone had told us Niners are going to have the number 3, they're going to trade up for number 3, and they're going to have the opportunity to take the next Julio Jones, and they're not going to take him because they're going to take a quarterback. That would sound crazy. It's like, wait a second, hold on. They're giving up on Jimmy already. He just went to the Super Bowl. But a lot happens in a year, and it seems like a lot happens in a year. And if Jimmy Garoppolo could just stay healthy, maybe they wouldn't have made the trade up. I just think it's interesting. The Niners always surprise people.
That's true.
If this is the surprise they have, I would be so impressed. I would be so impressed. Mark says, who was the player the Niners thought they could get trying to swing a trade with Philly at 6? I don't know if I buy this report. Suneil, explain this to me. They say the Niners tried Philly and Philly wasn't interested. So they keep moving up and end up getting the 3rd pick. After they get the 3rd pick, Miami goes back to 12. What does Miami do? What does Miami do? They go to 6. Right. So how could the Niners not get to 6, but Miami did? And Miami didn't even give up that much.
So a previous article talked about, and this was around the same time that they made the pick, that the Eagles really liked Mac Jones. And they were thinking about picking Mac Jones, and they were trying to move up with Miami to number 3 to get Mac Jones. This was like an article that was out. I don't know if you remember reading that, but so I think that
okay, this is making
the Eagles.
So they felt like they got aced out. They felt like if the Niners got to 3, then whoever they wanted at 6 was no longer going to be there, so might as well trade back. But as long as the Niners were back at 12, okay, I can see that.
Exactly. They were. I think the Eagles and the Niners were both trying to get to 3 with and so that's why it happened.
The Eagles wouldn't do business with the Niners, but once the Niners aced them out, then the Eagles were down to do business with the Dolphins.
Exactly.
Okay. I can see that.
Exactly. But I don't think that. So
you think it was Mac Jones though? You think it was Mac Jones, the player
for Eagles? But I don't think that's for. So I think that people are kind of like don't let all the pieces. Don't think about all the pieces. So the Niners wanted to move up to 6 because they probably thought Miami isn't going to get a quarterback, and that Atlanta maybe was going to get a quarterback, maybe not. Mm-hmm. So and then at 5, Cincinnati's not picking a quarterback. So 6, you're still probably getting one of the top 3 or top 4 quarterbacks at 6, based off of who was picking ahead of them.
Good point.
But when the Eagles obviously weren't playing ball, then they moved up to Miami. So it's like, oh, they moved up to 3, because it's just that's all they could do. 5 wasn't in play, 4 wasn't in play. So it was either 6 and 3. 6 wasn't in play, so they moved to 3. So I don't think you could really take into consideration or infer what player they're going after based off of the situation. That was just all that was available to them.
Eric Dane says 49ers first-round picks in 2022 and 2023 have less value for them because first round is usually quarterback, left tackle, D-end. They're drafting a quarterback, and they have Trent Bosa. Here's my problem with that, Eric. The Niners are basically banking that their injury issues are a thing of the past, that they're not going to have one of these seasons where the whole team gets hurt and they pick top 10, because that happens every other year for them. And if that happens next year or the year after, they're going to really regret not having one of those first-round picks, especially if the guy they take isn't super great. So that's all I'm saying. You could say that they're set at those key positions, but they have injury issues and depth issues, and if those persist, those are going to be high picks. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, they also have trade assets to get back in the first round, I think.
Warner, Bosa, Kittle, no doubt.
Right. So if they don't –
maybe Debo, Ayuk, yeah.
So I think a Debo, I think that, a Bosa, these type of positions, they know they have that. And also I think that the 2 draft picks that they gave up is basically the timeline that Shanahan and Lynch have to figure it out. So I think that plays out to the end of their contract. So it's kind of like they probably talked to York and was like, this is the move we want to make. And York was like, fine, but I'm not, it's going to go to your extension. That's the only picks you have to give up because it's your regime. If it doesn't work out, I think a new regime comes in with that first round pick in 2024.
That's a good way to say that. So repeat. That's so. Hey, you want to trade your picks? Go ahead. They're yours.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't work out, someone else is going to clean up your mess in 2024.
So in 2024, it's kind of set up for whoever's the new coach to come in with the first round pick. I think that was the pitch that Shanahan put and Lynch said is let us have our guy. We'll give up our 2 picks for the rest of our contract, but this is the guy we will live or die with the pick that we're about to make. And that's probably why York signed off on it.